Good morning. Welcome to Mystery Book Club. I'm Sally Hanley, author of the Holly and Ivy Cozy Mystery Series. And today we are discussing the Thursday Murder Club, and Claudia Long is our moderator. Claudia, take it away.
Hello, good morning. First of all, I am so excited about talking about this book, and I can't wait to hear everybody's take on these amazing four people. First of all, everybody able to get a hold of the book? Everybody
Yes.
be able to read it? Good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess we could just sort of kick it off with when this came out, it was kind of novel, almost, kind of a Grace and Frankie meets the mystery world, What did everybody think about, sleuths that are more, if I dare say it, our age or older?
Love it.
Yeah.
I did too. And by the way, I have to say, this book has been all over the news because um, Helen Mirren,
Right.
Pierce Brosnan, and Ben Kingsley are playing those three key roles in the movie. They're making a movie of it. So I can't wait to see the movie now. But I wish I had known that I would have pictured the characters physically different. But I think Helen Mirren's going to make a perfect Elizabeth, right?
Yes, yes. Yeah, I'd say if I see probably one movie a year, but if Helen Mirren is playing Elizabeth, I will see this,
Me
Right.
too.
I wonder who will be Joyce.
They
Joyce
had,
was kind of the star behind the scenes.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
which is really the best next question, isn't it? What about Joyce?
Yeah.
Yeah, what is it?
think
What
I got it.
what
I
makes her
found it kind of disruptive to go from third person to Joyce's diary. The first time I got there, I was jumped out of the book and tried to find it. Did I do something wrong? Am I in the wrong story?
I do like the fact that they highlighted, made it a different font. However, it was too small and too distracting. I think she should have done a little bit better job with that.
That's why I read in Kindle.
Same.
I was
Same.
You can adjust however you need it to. But yeah, Joyce is an interesting character because she seems on the surface much less compared to Elizabeth. She doesn't seem, as sharp and as on top of things, but she is, right?
Yeah.
And she's very insightful about people, and she's a very, and you know what, I never read in the article who they might have picked for that character.
But she's very comfortable playing second fiddle to Elizabeth.
Mhm.
Elizabeth
Yeah,
takes
She
the
did
credit, but
refer to her.
actually she's very on top of things, I thought.
Yeah, totally on top of things. I think it's the fact that we don't even know who's playing her in the movie, it kind of fits with her character in a way.
Yeah.
And one of the quotes that they highlighted here is, "I'm very happy to be overlooked and always have been." And I do think that perhaps it will be helpful in this investigation. Um, she's overlooked, she's underestimated, and she she's really the engine in a way. Elizabeth is the intellectual force, but Joyce is the engine. She's the one reaching out to all the men. She's the one, sliding in and out. People don't notice her.
Yeah.
It's quite the spy, if you will,
I like how she ended the whole book in the end. The whole summary. I don't know how they would have done it any other way. I like that.
Yeah. She's it's a to me it's I mean, there was some talk about when we did my book last month, where's the mystery? Are we going to get a mystery here? Is there going to be a mystery? Well, here we start right out. We've got, what do we have? What's the body count here? I think we've got 3 murders and a suicide at the end, you know.
Too
Like,
soon.
You sort of feel in the beginning like, they're just doing this as for their own personal satisfaction. This is just keeping them mentally stimulated. And there are so many humorous comments about the senior citizens place. Like I love the fact that their meeting was still, the quote I underlined was, it was still and is booked and still is booked under the name Japanese Opera, a discussion which ensured they were always left in peace.
right.
You could just picture this place and how, these people who were much more clever didn't come right out and say what they were discussing. So yeah, and so at the beginning, you figured, oh, they're just going to get haphazardly involved in this investigation. But once you start, you get in a little ways, it's like, whoa, this Elizabeth, this has all these connections, and it's much deeper than you imagined in the beginning.
I had a little trouble with the fact that Elizabeth seemed to have these connections. That to me just seemed a little unrealistic. Yes, she had been, CIA, I think.
The British equivalent. I can never remember, M something.
MI5.
Thank you. Thank you. Which I read as M15 for 25 years. Just letting you know that, So yeah.
No, I
Yes.
kind of felt like that a person who came out of that background would have exactly those connections and, could call on them whenever she needed to.
It's interesting. I've read all 4 in the series.
Oh.
And so, and I encourage, if you haven't done so or didn't think you might, to do so. It really develops Elizabeth a great deal more. And lets you understand why she has these connections. It's entertaining fiction. And so, I find that in any mystery, our sleuths are always just slightly larger than life, because most of us don't do that stuff, last I checked, And I mean, I had the occasion to go pick up a slightly older not friend, but acquaintance, to go to the California Writers Club meeting. We have branches all over the state and their monthly meetings. And I picked her up because she said, I've had cataract surgery, can't really drive this month. Can you pick me up? And so I said, yeah, sure, no problem. And so I picked her up. She lived out kind of down this like wooded road and one thing and the other. And I pulled up to her house and it was, 6:25 and it was time to go. And I waited and she didn't come out, and I honked and she didn't come out, and I texted and she didn't come out, and I emailed and she didn't come out. And I thought, holy mackerel. Okay. Got up, got out of my car, went to her door, banged on the door. The door wasn't locked. I thought, ooh, geez, what's going on? She didn't come out. Maybe I better go in and
Sounds like
check.
chapter 1 of a mystery.
Right. So I open the door and I creep into the house and I'm calling her name, and then she doesn't come out, and she's not on the downstairs, and there's a little loft upstairs. And I said to myself, hell no. I'm not going up there. I came back out and I said, and I left. Okay. Elizabeth would have gone right up those stairs. Any of our characters would have gone right up those stairs, because that's what makes them characters as opposed to us, So the fact that, to tie it in, that Elizabeth's connections are a little outlandish, I agree, they are. But again, they have to, all of our sleuths, I think, are a little larger than life and do things that they don't turn around and go, heck no, I'm not going, I'm out of here,
But wait a minute, you have to tell us what happened with your friend.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what? She, a little older than I, she forgot that I was picking her up and decided that she was okay to drive. Ugh. And she went, and I came into the meeting, I was late because I waited like 15 minutes horsing around with this thing. And she's just sitting there. And I waved at her. She's like, hi. And I'm like, you know, it's I asked her, and I was like, what the hell were you, where were, and she goes, oh my God, I completely forgot. I mean, she even forgot when I came in. And so then, you know, she offered to drive me the next month. I'm like, no, I'll drive myself. Thanks ever so much, you know. Anyway, so yeah, but I think that that's one of the cool things when we write is to make our characters just that believable one step larger than reality would give us. But I find it interesting, and you said that the first person took you out of the book, Penn
Yeah.
Wallace, right?
It did me.
What did everybody else feel about that?
Hmm.
I
Anybody
like
else?
the descriptions that she gave. I had no problem with it.
I
I
liked
did
her voice.
added a lot to the plot. I don't know. I found it distracting.
Mhm. So
Well,
two
I'm
distractions,
ADHD, so it was nice because I was jumping around.
a little shiny thing over here.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yeah, it's interesting when points of view change and person changes, not just multiple points of view, but into the first person. It is interesting. I actually looked forward to them. I liked them because I liked her voice so much. And I wanted to know more about what she was feeling, you know? But
And she did reveal, like, you know, she was the one that was always interested in the men, you know, and
right,
you know, try to, but you know, she wasn't sure if there really was something going on or not. You know, the typical thing that women go through, like, is this man really interested in me, or is he just coming along because, you know, he's got nothing else to do? So
right.
yeah, and yeah, she's definitely the contrast to Elizabeth, because
Mhm,
she reveals herself on a very average person level,
mhm.
and Elizabeth's always, you know, a little mysterious. She's uh except when it comes to Penny.
Right, right. And
Eh,
Penny is an interesting situation, isn't she?
exactly. Exactly. You know, it's funny because at one point I was wondering, why is this why is this character in this situation in this book? Why do we keep coming back to her? And there was a very good reason, we discover at the end.
Mhm,
But you know, like there's one quote I remember reading, and there were some very poignant passages revealing how it feels to age and how diminished we
mhm.
become as we physically age. You know, we're still the same person inside, but physically we become diminished. But there was the one moment when she said all she wanted to do was have a bottle of wine and go and drink and listen to Penny tell her stories and curse and do whatever. And she says, but that will never come, that will never happen again. And I think we all have those moments at this age in life, right? Where you have a memory and you realize that's never going to happen again. It's very poignant. It was, these passages were for me.
Yeah, maybe like
Somebody
Bernard.
remind me,
Go ahead.
could somebody remind me what Elizabeth did before she retired?
She was that you just said M15, which
Oh,
MI
okay, so MI5.
MI5, right?
She was a
Isn't it?
spy.
Right. I like I said, I've read that wrong for 20 years and now I can never remember which is the right way. Um,
Where does
but
this, oh, sorry, where does this book come in? You said that there were 4 books.
this is the first one.
This is the first.
Yeah, that's why I picked it so that if you were hooked on it, you would enjoy the other 3.
Yeah.
The you know, the Penny thing is interesting. Another diminishment when Bernard can't lift, really goes to get the shovel that he's going to dig out the ashes from under the bench, and he just can't really manage it anymore.
Right.
And that was kind of a poignant move.
Mhm.
And the most, I thought, lovely, funny, but touching moment about that particular issue was when Ron and Abraham are talking about sex. And Ron says, could you still, if you had to, could you do it? And Abraham says, no, not for several years now. And Ron says, yeah, me too. It's better that way. I was a slave to it, and it was a beautiful moment to me, because we never read about men talking about intimacy. Women, we talk about this stuff all the time. I mean, I don't even know you ladies, and we'd be happy to talk about our menopausal symptoms all day long, right? This is like,
Yeah.
what, Sorry, Pen. But, but to see men talking about it, I thought was a nice touch. It wasn't heavy. It wasn't contrived, and it was honest,
And it wasn't maudlin either.
Yeah, yeah.
You
It was honest without, like you say, without being maudlin. I really like that.
right.
So to the mystery, to Bogdan. He's hot. Okay. Um, I'm a sucker for guys like that. What can I say?
What
So-
an yeah, I mean, it really, it was such a good mystery because I did not consider that he was involved at all. And she did that. She kept him right on the author kept him right on the outskirts of everything. But,
the author's a man, by the way.
right.
Yeah.
Right. I realized that after I said she, yeah, I didn't see it coming.
Anybody else? What do you all think? Do you think it was reasonable that it was Bogdan?
Yeah, I thought so. Once you saw it all.
He was very objective about why he did things. I thought it made sense.
But to me, I thought that what surprised me was I thought that they were kind of, the Thursday Murder Club was all about bringing things to a conclusion or justice, and they were perfectly okay with what had happened, what he did, and that surprised me too. That I didn't expect that, but I was very happy and satisfied with that ending.
Yeah, I was troubled by it too. The first time I read it, I felt like, because I read it again for today, but the first time I read it, I felt like, wait a minute, like you said, they're supposed to be bringing people to justice, but what is really justice? And I think we have the same conundrum with Penny and John.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Are we, and Penny by herself. I mean, Penny killed a guy who killed his girlfriend, according to the way this ends, right? If I understand, the one thing I did not like, okay, there were too many false denouements, false solutions. And I kept thinking, okay, that makes sense. And then that's not really what happened. Let's try this one here. I was like, I found that a little frustrating. But, so Penny takes it on herself as a policewoman to murder somebody that she felt was guilty of killing his girlfriend, but was going to escape justice. Okay. She, in turn, is mercy killed by her own husband, who then kills himself. Bogdan murders, oh, let me keep it straight. The
Tony,
Ian,
does he murder Ian, or does he murder
Tony Curran,
Curran? Right, yeah.
Curran,
Yeah, he murders Curran.
and then the other guy who killed
And
the taxi cab.
right, because he killed his friend, the taxi cab driver.
oh, right.
And then we have Ian getting murdered by a shot of
Fentanyl.
Fentanyl.
and tell you the truth, I just reread the book, and it's the second time, and I can't remember who did that. I mean, it's like I'm
Yeah, there were a lot of murders.
Yeah, I mean, it's making up for me being unable to kill my characters, right? But
I did think it was unrealistic that she would shoot this guy as a police officer. I mean, you deal a lot with domestic violence, and it wouldn't have been her first time seeing something of that magnitude. And to take it upon herself, it just didn't seem realistic to me. But I accepted it. It's like when you're reading a mystery and everything just follows as you was summarizing the plot and everything. Yeah,
It's called the willing suspension of disbelief.
absolutely. So, you know, it's, I, again, like the,
I thought she could have used a stronger reason for killing him in particular. You know, her sister, or
Mhm.
he was particularly brutal, or something that made him stand out to her. That she was willing to do it above everything else that she's done right.
Well, the fact that that he let her die to bleed to death and then called the cops, I think offended Penny, but you're right. It's as a policewoman, or police person, you would see so many tragic and disastrous situations. Why this one?
Yeah.
Unless she left a trail of murders that we don't know about, but she would not have then indulged in the Thursday Murder Club because it would be too risky, wouldn't it? Because wasn't she the original member before they get Joyce to substitute for her?
Yes.
Yeah.
So when you all are writing, I mean, that's a lot of murders. That's a
Yeah.
pile up there. What do y'all think of that?
I think it was
Maybe
a lot
it's
to
good this
keep track.
kind of story, but in most books, I don't think it would work. You know, there's just a lot. And even a serial killer, you know, you usually have 3, possibly 4, unless it's a real hardcore thing where he's got 20 bodies lined up.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a problem with it. I thought one thing sort of followed another, followed another. It was sort of like a logical progression.
Mm-hmm. The book we read just before mine, the one from the other moderator, that takes place up in Northern California. The, I can't remember the name of her book, very atmospheric. There was a pile of bodies in that one too. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I wonder, you know, it's sometimes a way to get out of a tight spot when you're writing is to kind of kill somebody off. It's like I used to write sex scenes. If I didn't know what to do with somebody, I would write a sex scene, you know. But,
I've got to read your books.
that's because that's what I wrote before I wrote regular novels. I wrote erotic fiction for a long time. It pays super well. And yeah, so then when I started writing regular novels, if I didn't know what to do with somebody, I said, well, I know how to write this. So yeah, so maybe you'll kill people off. Go ahead.
I thought her technique of writing helped work that story. I mean, she could have had even more bodies as far as I was concerned. Her questions with the police and this and that, she was really spot on. You know, I enjoyed the interviews especially, and even with Elizabeth, I mean, she had her right on target and figuring out things, and I like that part of it.
You mean this book here or the book that we read 2
This
months
book.
ago?
No, this book here.
The author's a man, so
Yeah.
I
Oh, I'm sorry.
that's why I was confused because I thought we were talking about the other book there. Yeah, no, I love the interviews. The interviews are just hilarious, you know. But
And then, you know what was another interesting touch? Elizabeth's husband, whom you think is completely lost to Alzheimer and dementia, is really like completely on the ball and knows that Bogdan did it, right? I mean, that scene, just was like, whoa, where did that come from?
Yeah. Yeah, he's a beautiful, he's a beautifully illustrated character, and Elizabeth's relationship to him is beautifully done through the rest of the series. Beautifully done. But which was Stephen is playing chess with Bogdan.
Right.
And yeah,
That
and
takes-
it's that one part that remains, you know. And one of the great lines I think in the book is when Elizabeth says to Bogdan, thank you for playing chess, whatever. And he says, Stephen's a great player. I haven't played like this in a long time. She says, I don't play. And he says, chess is easy. You just have to make the right moves. And she says, well, what happens if you don't know the right moves? He says, then you lose. And I think that that's kind of under the whole, that's almost the theme here. You know, to me, that kind of ran through the entire book is if you don't know the right moves, you lose.
Yeah.
At each juncture, the victim made a mistake. You know, Ian underestimated the group and overestimated his power over Curran. Curran had made a mistake back in the early part of the game when he shot the taxi driver. In other words, you know, to me, it was like a big game of chess, and that crystallized it, you know.
You know,
Now,
I
even,
have-
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I have the hardcover. And one of the questions, do you have the hardcover, Claudia?
I have a Kindle.
Oh, okay. There's a question which I thought was odd. It says Joyce is always baking and the others are always eating. The next question is simple. What is the best cake? I had to go back and look, and I never did write myself an answer, but I just thought, I don't know why he brought that up.
The best of her cakes,
Yes,
the coffee walnut.
oh, okay.
Oh, to me, I mean, that was like, I wanted that so much right then, you know?
She had a cobbler too.
And she had the lemon drizzle,
Oh, I like that. Yes.
lemon drizzle. And
I
yeah,
forgot.
see that, yeah, mine has the questions in the back too. And yeah, here, next question is
Yeah.
simple. It's the best cake, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, actually, one of the questions I have is the recurring theme is the gray area between the law and each character's moral code. Do you think that Penny's husband, John, did the right thing? And then how about Penny? And we talked about Penny a bit, but John, I think none of us here is particularly young. I mean, we all look at this and say, hell yeah. I mean, I hope somebody does that for me. But,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
I wish.
yeah, but we can't, we do it for our pets, but not for our humans.
Yes, and I was very dismayed to learn that because I always thought going in your garage and turning on your car was just like the most peaceful way to go. But I understand that with catalytic converters, you can sit in that car till you run out of gas and you're not going to drive.
You are disappointing me, you know? That's terrible. But you know what else? Also, I have a gas stove, but so I mentioned that to my husband and he said, well, two problems here. First of all, gas stoves are slowly being phased out and most people can't put in a gas stove in a new place. But, if you did that, the whole house could blow up when somebody opened the door, to the
Yeah.
kitchen. It's like you don't want to blow up the house and whoever comes to find you. And I'm like, oh, no, dang, what am I going to do? And so
You could go to Canada. I just read an article on Canada passed a
you
law.
have to be more together to do this, and here in California, we have the assisted suicide, but you have to be able to take the pills yourself. They can't even hold the glass of water for you. It's
Don't
it's,
you think that's mixing up church and state? That suicide is outlawed, I think, because of religion,
oh, yeah.
but I disagree with it, but you know,
But definitely,
I mean, there are always circumstances that make changes or, but for some people, I think it's okay. If they can, if they're still able to do it or.
Well, the interesting thing about suicide being against the law is that the perpetrator of the crime, as a lawyer, I'd say, you know, the perpetrator of the crime has already paid the price. You know, if you were to commit suicide successfully, you may be breaking a law, but you're
Yeah. what are
can't be
they
called
gonna
to
do?
justice, right? It's the assisted suicide that is against the law, and
that's
that's
what I said was the beauty of the plan of going in the garage and turning
Right.
the car on.
Right.
You need no assistance to do that. It's not messy, and you know, but yeah, but alas, I've been foiled by progress in catalytic converters.
I
And if
keep
you had an
reading-
electric car, it'd be even worse.
There you go.
Of course, it is in reality a terribly serious topic that,
Yeah.
you know, we're making light of, and if anybody is feeling hurt, I apologize, because we're really talking about being elderly and ill and not some of the things that other things that happen. But yeah, I think that we've got Bernard doing it. We've got John doing it. We've got Penny helped along. We've got, okay, let's stack them up here. I miscounted in the beginning. Bernard, John, Penny, the person Penny killed, the person that the person Penny killed. We have Curran, we have the taxi driver, we have the brother, the boy, the young drug dealer, we have Ian, we have more. Is there more?
Tony Curran.
Yeah, I think, yeah, so that's 9. Wow. Wow, that's a stack.
Yeah.
Sure.
It was a really interesting technique to use to have all of those and also have them intertwined the way that the author did. So he was pretty masterful in crafting that mystery, I thought.
Yeah. So what else do we normally talk about, since this is, you know, only my second time
Well,
moderating?
Peg, weren't you a nurse?
Yes.
Do you have anything to say about that?
No. I mean,
Okay,
I mean, I do believe in assisted suicides. So,
Yeah. It would be nice for Oregon and California allow it, but it's
yeah.
so,
As you say, you have to be careful of the state, and you also, I think, have to be careful of how you set it up.
I'm from Spain, some of you know that, and euthanasia has been legalized for the last probably 3 years. There's nothing like that in the States.
well, euthanasia, explain who gets to decide and who gets to administer it.
Okay, decide the person who wants to die, and there is if the person has
Right.
then they do a whole bunch of psychological tests, and then in the end is a board of doctors that say yes, go ahead, and the doctors are the ones administering an injection.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that last part is different, but that's so there's a quite an involved process, it sounds like.
Yes, yes, yes. And I didn't know if euthanasia is the same as assisted suicide.
Not technically it isn't. Euthanasia
Maybe not
is,
here,
yeah.
because you have to, the person has to be able to do it themselves, right? In the state.
Depends on the
California-
state.
Depends on the state. I can only tell you about California. In California, there's no board of doctors, but it's you and your doctor and can decide. It's a special doctor who does this, and they analyze and see if, you're truly mortally ill,
Mhm.
and then it's not an injection, it's pills, but you have to be able to administer it yourself. And
Oh,
the problem, and they do it with you, they're with you, but in other words, they can't, because the concern is forcing somebody or tricking somebody or doing something to somebody who does not want to do this. In other words, there's, as you were saying, Alice, there's always change, there's always hope, or things can change.
and what about if we had a very big case in Spain. He was paralyzed from here to his
Mhm.
toes. So
And he can't administer it himself, right?
he could not possibly, he was like, I mean, he was very right in the head, but from here down, he could not.
Yeah, there's everything wrong. There's our law is a step in the right direction, but it does not take into account that situation. And of course, then there's the, Alzheimer's dementia situation, and you're not able to make a decision, and therefore you are not able to ask for this. It's a terrible, we have not resolved it, no.
I have not heard the term euthanasia used in a long time. And I think of euthanasia as somebody outside of the individual making the decision that the person is going to be put to death. Whereas assisted suicide, you have the involvement of the individual making the
You may be
decision.
translating also the word, but yeah, and I think that we do have here, for instance, if you are in a coma and not likely to come back from it, and you have a medical
Power of
directive.
attorney.
Well, yeah, more of a medical directive that says that if this happens, I do not want to be kept alive by extreme means, and that's honored. But that's, that's a different story again,
But this you can put in the, sorry.
We have advanced medical directive.
The will or living
living
will
will.
or something like that.
Yeah.
You can specify that, right?
Yeah.
And then it's honored?
Yeah.
Okay.
But let me tell you something. When you can have that, and you can make a decision that my brother-in-law had lung cancer, and he had a tube put in his throat, which was removed, and with the intention that it would not be replaced. He did not want it replaced. But then my sister went home, and overnight they put the tube back in his throat. And then the next day when we came in, I don't know how many doctors, came in. And of course, the doctor who had performed that tracheotomy did not want to remove it again. And my sister said, she asked my brother-in-law, "You don't want this in there, Dan?" And he nodded. I mean, he was fully cognizant. And so there was another doctor who came in and said he read the whole history, and that, he had stopped the Keytruda, and so definitely that this was his wish. So what happens once you're under doctor's care in a hospital with no advocate? is questionable. I mean, it's still, they're going to try to save you even if you say, I'm done. So,
My
you know-
sister had a similar experience. She had COPD. It was terminal. There was nothing they could do. She went to the hospital at the end, and she did not want to be intubated. She said no, and the doctor insisted. And he did it anyway, and the nurses told us later, they said he did not listen to her. She said no, and he insisted on doing it. And they kept her alive for another 5 weeks, maybe. Just, it was awful. And there wasn't anything anybody could do by then.
I think now they'll take the doctor to court.
Yeah.
You have, because I think when they go into the hospital, they try and ask up front if you have a durable power of attorney and who's to act. And they are supposed to contact that person if something needs to be done. And if they do not respect your wishes, they can be prosecuted.
This was Alabama.
but that, I have to say, that's a good thing. But it is slim comfort when you're the one there trying to get this doctor to listen to you, because this is the worst moment and the worst decision a wife has to make for her husband. It was just horrible. It was horrible. And
well, we went through the same thing with my father. We took him in at some point, and the doctor takes you off into the little room and says, I don't think that there's anything more we can do. I think we should just try and make him comfortable. And my mother, who was making the decision, still wanted everything done, even though she knew what his wishes were. So it's when you pick the person to represent you, you have to make sure that that person will represent your wishes.
Yeah, that's what happened with my family too. With my mom had Alzheimer's, and she had a heart attack in the hospital, and they did everything, and she had a directive that said that she didn't want that, and my dad overrode it and went to court on it and won, and they kept her alive for about a year. And it was absolutely horrible. And yet, I mean, it was like the worst nightmare of everybody's life, because my dad was in horrible grief, but he could not let his wife die. And my mom was basically in a coma most of the year. And my sister and I were screaming at my dad, and instead of being comforting, and you've got to do all this when you're
Yes, lucid,
yeah, because
if not, it's a mess.
nightmare of not is, nobody has a good story. Yeah.
let's end on a more cheerful note.
Good idea.
Yes,
I'm
we
sorry,
need to
what a
find
bad
out-
moderator letting this happen. Thank you, Sally, for rescuing us.
The
We need to
character,
find out who else will be in the movie, because I would like to see that.
Well, somebody ought to Google who's going to play Joyce,
well, that'll be
Jane Fonda.
interesting. But here's what I want to know. We didn't discuss Ron, and I'm assuming that will be played by Pierce Brosnan, right?
I don't know.
Ooh, yeah.
Well, he won't be Ibrahim. He won't be Ibrahim. Yeah.
Right. No, that'll be Ben Kingsley,
Right.
Yeah.
So,
He
right?
looks like yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So I just Ron was an interesting character, and
Sally
then
Fields.
Sally Fields?
I'm sorry. For the one that's going to play the girl today.
Joyce? But I think it's got to be a British actress, though.
Oh,
Yeah.
Is the movie out or not yet?
No, not yet. Not yet. They're making.
Yeah,
I think
they just made the announcement last week who was selected for these roles, and Helen Mirren selected for Well, I'm assuming it's Elizabeth. I can't
Yeah,
imagine
me
her
too.
being
It's
Joyce, right?
Joyce is expected to be played by Penelope Wilton, known for her work in Downton Abbey and the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel.
Oh, okay.
Well, if she's the big
Oh,
wife
I would think Pierce
in
Brosnan,
Marigold Hotel, I don't know.
I would think Pierce Brosnan would be
Maybe.
Elizabeth's husband. Steve, is it Stephen?
Stephen, yeah.
Yeah.
Hard to know.
oh, but I don't think he's got as much of a role in the movie.
Yeah, it's very small. I mean,
You
Stephen,
know, Ron is in every bit of it. I don't know. That'll be, yeah, I'll have to look that up.
And who's going to be Bogdan?
Ah,
I don't know.
that's a good
I want to
point.
know that.
I have to look up the cast,
Yeah.
see if I can get that.
And speaking of Ron, when he does, his speech, his rabble-rousing speech there, when he's blocking everything and he's kind of doing his old labor union thing. Later on in the book, do you remember when he says, I was just doing that because it needed to be done. I'm kind of cool with them putting up the whole new, it'll lower our maintenance fees, which is, at least that's like HOA fees, and I was like, okay, Ron, all right, well,
Yeah, he's a very disingenuous character. I
yeah,
felt. Yeah, right?
And
He's
Jason Ritchie, or rather, Jason Ritchie, his son, who's the
Yeah.
former boxer, and
right.
he's learning to ice skate and he can't do it. I love that. Yeah, I thought that was,
Abraham will be Ben Kingsley. Ron Ritchie is Pierce Brosnan.
oh,
Oh,
that's interesting.
And
I
they're
don't see
still,
him in
they
that one.
haven't announced Joyce yet, but they are thinking it's going to be, I hope it wasn't the wife in the Best Marigold Hotel.
no, but remember the
She
little
was-
redhead? The little
Yeah,
redhead?
the
Yeah, I
ditzy
think
one.
she would be good.
The ditzy one would be good.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
she's not really, but she could
Right.
do that.
yeah, yeah.
I'll
Interesting.
have to look up and see who she is. I don't know the name.
So Claudia, what you want to give us a 2-sentence pitch for the next book we're reading?
Oh, yeah, sure. Let me bring that up on my Kindle here for a second.
Katrina McPherson's.
You
Yeah,
can do more than
Katrina-
2 sentences.
Katrina McPherson, the current darling of, awards, right? In Place of Fear is, takes place in Scotland at the end of World War One, World War Two, when they're just putting in the NIH, but the equivalent, the health services,
Mhm.
and it deals with some very gritty issues in Scotland. It's not gentle, but it does explore a lot of the psychology of the post-war and the difficulties that, say, returning prisoners of war had, and the changing mores of, abortion and women's changes in their roles. It's Scottish, but it's got a lot of, it's gritty, a little
Remind
gritty.
us again, what's the name of the book?
In Place of Fear,
Okay, yeah.
and it's by Katrina, which is spelled Catriona, just for your fun. Katrina McPherson, McPherson. And it's a change from her other books. She wrote the Dandy Gilver series, which is fun, but a little more bodies than you expect when that kind of fun. And the Scottish woman living in California, in Central Valley, California.
Those are funny.
And those are so funny, you almost like spit your tea out while you're reading it, So, but this one it's gritty. I think you all like it, since gotten a couple of more gentle books recently. I think that'll.
I started it. I'm having trouble moving myself along. Did that happen to you?
I haven't started.
It didn't happen to me, but I have read that some people, there's a glossary in the back,
Yeah.
that some people found it a little bit a stumbling block with so many Scottish words, you
Oh,
know? So do check the glossary in the back if that eases things along for you. It was one where I had absolutely no idea who had done it. I mean, I was nowhere with that.
mhm.
It was like, who's going to figure this out? And the denouement fits really well, you
Okay.
know? So I was impressed by that. I think that she's grown as an author,
Mm.
you know? Because with the Dandy Gilver ones, I would just read them along going, I don't understand anything that's going on here, but it's okay because it's kind of fun, and it'll all be explained in the end, but I won't believe it, but it's fun, but this was like a little sharp.
Oh, sounds good.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it.
Okay, then, anybody have any parting remarks?
No,
We should all go to the movies together.
thank
Yeah,
you.
Yeah,
looking
you can
forward
do
to it.
that. You can share a watching somehow on Amazon.
Yeah, we could all have
You
like
could
a
have
watch party.
Party and
A
share.
watch party.
I
Oh,
don't know
that
how
would
you
be
do
fun.
it, but
That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think I could probably figure that out when it comes out.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, then, I'm going to end our recording and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
okay.
You.
Well,